You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Monday in America, and I can see, OG, that you have not finished your breakfast yet.
Costco Kirkland protein bars.
Ooh.
It's like peanuts and chocolate because everybody needs a little chocolate for breakfast.
Did you stop by them? Of course. That's donuts, right?
The cornerstone of every nutritious breakfast.
You have to. Somebody on TikTok the other day was calling it, and I'm sure this is a thing in the Northeast, but I have not heard it. Have you ever heard Dunkin' Donuts referred to as dunk? Bring me a dunk.
I used to call it Dunkies.
Yeah, this woman was talking about her boy. She had her boyfriend bring her a dunk. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then she shows herself drinking it, and it's a Dunkin' Donuts drink.
My daughter calls Starbucks Starbies. Can you get me a Starbies?
I've heard that.
One of my favorite scenes in a movie of all time was when Shrek,
Hold on. Just to be clear, one of your favorite scenes of all time came in the movie Shrek?
It did. This was hilarious when everybody
Says the guy
rushes
who tries
out
to see all the Oscar-winning movies and has done for 25 years. One of the greatest scenes of all time that you've ever seen. Is there any hyperbole in this by any chance?
Takes a day off every week just to watch movies.
I don't think though, Doug, you were laughing about what OG's saying. I think you were laughing because you know the scene I'm about to talk about.
No, I was laughing at exactly what OG is saying.
Oh.
When you said favorite scenes of all time followed by Shrek, I could not restrain myself.
But let's hear it. I mean, I'm really curious. I feel like I've seen Shrek.
Yeah,
but
you go, girl.
Where I don't remember what's happening, but because it was such a
what is
memorable
the
movie.
greatest scene of all time?
It was. Everybody, because you had to watch carefully for it. I don't think most people caught this at first. Everybody runs out of one Starbucks because like these marauders are coming through, and they run out of one Starbucks and they run across to another Starbucks across the street and go hide there. Thought it was pretty good.
That's one of the greatest scenes of all time.
It was hilarious. It was very much awesome. It's either that and something from Schindler's List, probably up at the top.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you repeat the part of the stuff where you said all about the things?
All right, let's raise our glass, shall we? Moving on. It's time for us to do our Monday salute to the troops, our amazing troops that kept us safe all weekend and will this week as well and into the future. Here's to our troops. On behalf of the men and women at Navy Federal Credit Union, the men and women making podcast in Mom's Basement, thank you for all you do. Go stack some Benjamins now, shall we?
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, this is going to be fun. We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and happy football season, Stackers. And to help you kick off, get it? Kick. Anywho, here to help us start strong with our money, we welcome Wharton professor, money expert, and ex-NFL star Brandon Copeland. In our headlines, customers of one bank experienced fraud in their accounts, and the bank did nothing about it. What if it happens to you? What was the bank? We'll share. Plus, we'll answer a question from one stacker who thought, I'd better call Saul. See hi and OG. And of course, we can't start the football season without some football-themed trivia. And now, two guys who are about to help you put the W in the win column with your Benjamins. Barf. It's Joe and O-G.
You don't like W's. You don't like W's, you go for the L's. You go right for the, let's just lose it quickly.
We all play to our strengths. Get to go home sooner, hit the couch.
Seriously, if you're going to win a title, you know how many more weeks you got to play in a row?
Oh, my God. Should be
Just
golfing all that time.
Horrible. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Press the Easy Button podcast. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter. Hope you had a fantastic week last week with our greatest hits episode, but we are back. We're all stretched out, especially the man across the card table from me, Mr. OG. You have any words, coach, for the team as we start the next 8-week season?
Rah, rah, ree. Kick him in the knee. Rah, rah, ras. Kick him in the other
Doug,
knee.
what are we doing? What are we doing, Doug?
Wow, he has never coached a team in his life.
No clue. Go out there and bite him in the kneecaps.
We just got to go out there and play our game, and stick to the fundamentals and just do what we do best. Just focus.
If we score more touchdowns than the other team, we will win, kids. We will win. It's going to be good. Well, it was the start of the NFL football season. I know you guys are probably glued this weekend to your televisions. I know I was. OG, how about you?
Oh, yeah. Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
Included in my YouTube TV package. The only reason I have YouTube TV is
really?
in fact.
Just included? Or is that like an upper tier that you're paying for?
I'm sure it's extra. I don't even know.
Hey, today we're talking about the line items in your budget.
Right. That you've never seen before.
Take a lesson from OG and just, hit that button and have somebody else look at it. No, we do have a big headline today for you. Brandon Copeland is here. He played 10 years. I think I told you at one point, Doug, he played 12 years in the NFL. Played 10.
Grievous mistake.
Yes. He actually played for Penn, not a football powerhouse. But sorry, Penn, you're known for a lot of cool stuff, but not known as a football powerhouse. But when he was the team captain, they won back-to-back championships. As the captain, he walked on to the Baltimore Ravens, and his
that's
career
amazing.
went from there. He actually was going to get his first start with the Detroit Lions, with our Detroit Lions. So we'll talk to him about all that, but mostly about your money playbook. We're kind of taking the theme from the NFL. Let's start off the fall season strong. But to start this podcast strong, we have a couple sponsors who are going to make sure this is all free for you. We'll have a couple now and during Doug's trivia and the whole second half of this and the whole time we talk to Brandon, we will not have any words from sponsors. So let's have a couple right now. Big thanks to them, and we'll be right back. Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. There for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you. In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. Brandon Copeland, a.k.a. Cope, here with us to teach you about your money playbook. So let's go meet him. And I'm super happy he's here with us in Mob's Basement. Brandon Copeland's here, a.k.a. Cope. How are you, man?
I'm doing phenomenal. How you doing?
I'm so happy you're here with us, kicking off NFL kickoff week. This has got to be a big week for you. Are you in a fantasy football league? That's question number one.
Man, you know what? I am not. I've never gotten to fantasy football because every time I give people and friends advice on it, I am looking at the game plan. I'm looking at how we're going to stop this person. And I've heard that my advice is terrible when it comes to fantasy football. So it has made me say, you know what? This may not be a challenge or a mountain that I want to climb. Let me just stick to what I know, so to speak.
Well, and so is that why you're not in coaching and instead well, you are in coaching, but you're in financial coaching rather than football coaching. Is that why? Because you're like, well, maybe there's a greener pasture for Cope.
Yeah, no, I think coaching is something I'm interested in, but I also realize, hey, listen, in business, you got to know your strengths, and you got to know your weaknesses. And I know one of my weaknesses is I am very impatient, and my delivery when I'm impatient can come off a little harsh. So with that being said, I'm like, let me wait until I'm maybe a softer soul and then get into coaching. Right now I'm good though. I got my kids. I'm not their coach like Deion Sanders yet or anything like that. I don't know if I'm ever going to do that, but I will. I mean, my oldest is 5 years old and my youngest is 2.5, but like the coaches at the YMCA let me jump in with them and help out and all of that stuff. And so I'll run drills with them and all that stuff. And that's a good, I'm working my way up. I'm building my resume.
That's the middle ground. Yeah. I got to tell you, I remember those days when my twins were 2.5 and 5. And well, that's where all my hair went, Cope. So yeah. You talk about this in this project. You get this question all the time. And it was the first question I thought, and you dive into this, football versus Wall Street. You had an internship where you were working on Wall Street, is my understanding. Mm-hmm. You had this background. You had this great college career at Penn, not, as you know, considered a football powerhouse, even though you guys kicked ass the years that you were there. But, they're not head to head against Notre Dame or Alabama. Yeah. You're at this fantastic school with this economics degree that's going to open up so many doors. Why pursue football versus pursuing economics out of the gate?
Yeah. The funny thing is when I was on Wall Street, I was at UBS my sophomore going into my junior year. And it was shortly after the '08 financial crisis. And so there were still layoffs going on all the time. And at one point in time, they were doing like 2,000 layoffs across the entire bank. And, for me as a young person coming up, and, you go into Wall Street and people talk about, oh, I want financial freedom and I want to own this and own that. And I saw so many adults afraid for their lives and afraid for their jobs. I was having a conversation with one person who ended up becoming a great mentor of mine. I won't put his name out there. And he's sitting down, he's got his Bloomberg terminals up and he's a trader and he's trading and we have a convo and somehow it evolves to happiness. And I'm sitting there talking with him. I'm like, so are you happy? And it was frankly, it was a ballsy move for an intern to ask something like that. But I'm like, are you happy? And he literally stops. He looks out the window. He looks back at his desk and he's like, no, I'm not happy. I work extremely hard. I have 3 beautiful daughters, and he had picture frames of his daughters underneath the monitors. He was like, I have 3 beautiful daughters. I can buy them anything that they want in the world. But I'm pushing around pieces of paper. This isn't really as fulfilling as I thought it would be. And right there in that moment, I was like, oh, I might as well just go for it. I might as well go for the dream. I might as well go try to do everything that I've ever wanted to do in this world. And I'm glad I asked that question. But when you ask, why go for the NFL? 1, it was the dream come true. 2, I got a picture of my grandfather up here. He's one of my heroes. My mother's my hero. He played 11 years in the NFL. And it was something that you can't go backwards. I can go into many different tangents, so you'll pull me back here, Joe. But my last year in the NFL was going into year 10. I had a bunch of different surgeries, and I had at that point racked up 3 knee surgeries, and I was just like, man, I don't know if I want to put my body through another year. Like I'm starting to feel my grandfather gave me advice going into the NFL. Is like if he could do anything different, he just wouldn't play as long because he paid for it the rest of his life. And so, I told my accountant, I don't know if I should do this or not. And my accountant was like, well, I'm 50 something. I've never played in the NFL and my knees still hurt and I still got to get a knee replacement. So you might as well go ahead and live it for as long as you can, and then be able to, walk away safely and make sure that you don't look back with those regrets. So, long-winded way to answer your question, for me, it's about going for the things that I've dreamed of, the things that it makes a younger version of me extremely proud of who I'm becoming today. And for me at that time, the NFL was the opportunity not only to live that dream and to go out through the white smoke and to hear fans screaming and also fans booing, but also for me to create the startup capital that I needed to create the life that I want financially, for me to have the influence over younger versions of myself, to be able to walk into a classroom in a Detroit and get kids to stop doing what they're doing and sit down and listen. Right. And so the opportunity for that was something that I would, never pass up, and I would do 10 times over.
Did your grandfather ever get to see you play in the NFL?
Yes, he did. He passed away in 2019, so he got to see the first 6 years of my career, and the first couple were real up and down, fired multiple times, sat out my second year. I didn't sit out. Sorry. Let me not make it seem like it was voluntary. I was fired and told I wasn't good enough. And, the whole second season in 2014, outside of the first 2 weeks, I sat out. And 2015 is when I really got on, and he was there with me as many games as he possibly could be. Unfortunately, he battled dementia, Alzheimer's, CTE. So the last couple of years weren't, his greatest that he would have loved. But the one thing I will say, his final year, so in 2018, my grandfather was able to come to a game of me with the New York Jets, and he came on the sideline, and it was the same week of the 50th anniversary of the Baltimore Colts playing the New York Jets and losing the Super Bowl. Well, it wasn't the same date, but they were honoring that team. And my grandfather played for the Baltimore Colts and actually lost that game, but he was able to come to that game, be on the sidelines with my wife and my mom and all that stuff, and see a lot of his old friends from when he played. Unfortunately, his disease picked up after that. But again, one of the greatest moments of my life, because he was just on cloud nine. Because it's funny how, I'm not sure if you ever dealt with people who have dementia, but there's certain things that you see them come back. And that was a really cool thing for us to be able to make happen.
Yeah. Just wild that you could meld those moments together into something that cool. That's just one of those, I don't know, one of those phenomenal life moments. You were talking about getting fired. I don't know what statistic, the number of people that last 10 years in the NFL like you did, but man, it's got to be a tiny percentage of people that even start in the NFL. And you truly, Cope, you truly did it in a grinded out way. And I know a big part of this project you have on financial literacy and helping people get a leg up and get started and get the playbook is about hustle. Mm-hmm. I just want to go through this because I don't think that a lot of our stackers know just how much goes into becoming an NFL athlete. You sign with Jacksonville, you get cut. You sign with the Titans, you make the practice squad, you get cut, but then you come back and you're with them. You sign with the Lions, the best team in the NFL by far, the Detroit Lions. Absolutely. And you get hurt, which I just can't, I'm groaning as I'm reading this. I'm like, he's finally there and he gets hurt. And then finally rocking with the Jets, right? And really things started to roll there. So many setbacks. I guess this idea of financial literacy, you know how frustrating it was for you. And I think we'll get into this. You know how frustrating it is when you're teaching people about financial literacy. What the hell's a Roth IRA? Like, what tax is being taken on my paycheck? What the hell are you talking about? Like all these things that we never learned. Talk to me about resilience, because you had to have, with all those setbacks, Cope, I just don't know how you kept coming back and coming back and coming back before it finally worked out with the Jets.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting a bit of the journey. I start my class every single year I teach at the University of Pennsylvania. Started teaching there 6 years ago in the off seasons. And I start my class every year with a class called Secure the Bag. One of the lines I quote, I love music and I love some of the lessons that some of your favorite artists actually teach through their art. And Rick Ross always says in the song, I'm a Boss, he says, a boss is one who guarantees we're going to eat. And frankly, there is no excuse for me to not create the life that I want. And so whether it's the NFL, whether it was Wall Street, whether it was becoming a painter or an artist or an entrepreneur, there's a dream and a vision and a why that I have for my life. And I can't leave this earth without accomplishing it. I always tell people with the NFL in particular, there was one, that competitive drive, that ego, but two, that true understanding that I am actually good enough to be in the NFL. And not just good enough, I'm actually really good. I haven't really said this publicly because I don't want to sound egotistical or anything like that. But, you come into the NFL, and when you're classified as a journeyman or something, you start to naturally start to eat away at how good and how talented you actually are. But when you're able to have the epiphany or the chance to take a step back and look at it, you're like, hold on, I was one of the best athletes in the world for an extended period of time. And although whenever it was contract negotiation time, people tell you all the things they hate about you, whenever you stepped on the field on Sunday, there was people who never could argue with the play that you put out there on the field. And so for me, understanding that, hey, I'm good enough to do this, it gave me this relentlessness of like, I just got to keep going until I get my shot. I got to keep going until I get my shot. And like you said, there were so many setbacks, whether that was coaches saying, hey, you may not be good enough to make it in this league. Or like you mentioned, when I was with the Detroit Lions, my third year there in 2017, the day before I tore my pec muscle, my linebacker coach, Bill Sheridan, came to me and said, hey, Coach, I'm going to let you know you're going to be our starter this year.
Wow.
The only reason why I'm telling you this is because I know your journey has been a roller coaster ride to get here. And I'm very proud of the effort that you put in and how hard you worked. And we had a joint practice against the Indianapolis Colts that whole week, and I was crushing them. There were sometimes I was looking at myself like, wow, was there a Space Jam ball around here that I
That's
did?
when you know it's good.
Yeah. And he came and gave me that feedback. And then the next day to go out there, tore my pec. And frankly, because it was a clean tear of the tendon, it didn't feel painful. So, I went into the back with the trainer. I'm sitting down on the training table. He's feeling on my arm. He was like, hey, Cope, I hate to tell you this, but you tore your pec. And I'm literally like, oh, man, that sounds bad. But okay, what's that? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? It was his first preseason game. So I'm like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'll be back out there. He was like, sorry, Cope, that's 6 months. Think your season may be over, buddy. I'm like, whoa. Listen, Kevin, his name was Kevin. Maybe they haven't told you yet, but I'm the starter, man. So I'm gonna need you to go back there, find some Band-Aids, find some peroxide. Let's take this thing up. But I've been working really, really hard to finally be the starter in the NFL. And, let's figure this out, Kev. And he said, I'm sorry, Cope, this is 6 months. If this was the last week of the season or we're in the playoffs, maybe we go for it, but you would ruin probably the rest of your life if you tried to play on this the whole season. So with that being said, having that mental resilience and that non-quit attitude is what I took onto the field, because really it wasn't about my ego. It was about what I believed that I could do and what I wanted for my life. And I think I take the same approach to my finances, to my family life, and to the different things that we've created in this world.
Is it then getting competent that builds the confidence?
Yeah, I do agree that it is getting competent, but I think it's also, frankly, when you have that no quit attitude, that it's just a matter of time. And you just gotta, I don't want to jock other people's quotes and stuff like that. I like to give credit to my resources, but like Alex Hormozy, who went to my high school and is doing some amazing things
Did he
in
go
the
to your
world,
high school?
inspiring people. Yeah, he did.
I can't watch that guy's videos because he's too jacked.
Yeah. Mickey, like, oh man, what am I doing? All right, you start pushing up the.
It is seriously distracting. It is so distracting. I can listen to him all day, man. If he talks, I can listen to him, and he seems like a brilliant guy. But dude, I cannot watch it.
Yeah, I completely understand, man. And what he says is, if you stay in the game long enough, then you're bound to win. And I've never heard somebody say it like that, but it's like the infinite game theory, the infinite mindset. But I think building that competence, also knowing that you have no quit in your body, and if you stay in the game, if you really want something, you can achieve it. And then the last thing is being willing to roll up your sleeves and put the actual work in. There's a lot of people who want things, and I'm not trying to talk down on them, but there's people who want things and there's people who are willing to work for things. And if you're not willing to put in the work, the research, the time, the mentorship, the shadowing, the due diligence, etc., then do you really want it? Is it really going to pan out? And I think when you have that combination of those three things, that's what makes you really, really dangerous.
I think that's so apropos because I've seen so many people, frankly, that are competent and do nothing with that, right? I mean, they read and they read and they read, and someday they're actually going to pull the trigger. They're going to deploy what they know. And that's really when rubber meets the road. This blew me away when I read this. And I know your book doesn't come out till tomorrow, but can you tell everyone when the first time was that you really had somebody sit down with you and teach you about budgeting, taxes, financial planning? Because this wasn't like you weren't 12, Cope, when this happened.
No. I signed from the University of Pennsylvania. I go to the Baltimore Ravens, my hometown team, and I'm loving it. I'm excited, all of that good stuff. And the NFL Players Association comes into the building and they start talking to us about these things, 401ks. I'm like, wow. And they tell us, hey, if you make it, you get a credit a season and this, then you can get your 401k and the league will match it at this rate. And I'm like, being a numbers guy, I'm like, hey, wow, this is pretty nice.
You've already been through, just so everybody hears this correct, you've already been through Wharton with a degree in economics.
Yes.
And you're like, we're actually finally talking about economics that matter, like the economics of Cope and what it's going to take to manage a paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, that's what was really shocking. So at that time, I had to lock back in because I'm like, hey, these numbers are cool, but if I don't make the team, none of this stuff matters. So let me lock back in on playing and practicing well in about an hour and a half. But going away from that, I'm just like, hold on. I interned on Wall Street for multiple years. I interned at a hedge fund in high school. I went to the Wharton School of Business. And I'm just learning about what a 401k is. Like, okay, I had to make it to the Baltimore Ravens for that to happen. Well, who's going to teach my mom about this stuff? Who's going to teach my brother about this stuff? Who's going to teach the world about this stuff? Do you really have to make it to the NFL to hear the term 401k for the first time? And so, yeah, it was, I don't want to say appalling, it was enlightening to me that is the real case. But it also showed just the disparity or the discrepancy in what we learn on a day-to-day basis in school and all these years of education versus what we're actually going to use. And so, yeah, it was an enlightening experience being a Raven.
And I love then becoming your mission to help people get that information quicker than you did. And frankly, when I did too, with my own personal story. But before we get there, the college season also in full force finally as well. You're seeing college players getting paid. You see, in fact, the head coach at the University of Maryland talking about how surreal it is to him when his third string running back says, "Coach, I don't want a lot. I just want $100,000. I don't know if you saw that crazy quote, but I can't imagine with the lack of education that you had about money, even with your upbringing, with the Wall Street stuff, Wharton, hedge fund in high school, you still didn't know. I can't imagine how you feel about college kids getting paid tons of money without any of that literacy.
I think it's great that college athletes are making money. I think it's phenomenal that they get to earn a piece of what they actually help schools and universities produce, right? And we can have a full long form conversation about that. I do think that it is outrageous that schools aren't having true life skills classes, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't even, because a lot of times people are like, well, does the NFL teach you these things? And it's like, it shouldn't even be the NFL's responsibility, right? Like you should be learning this in high school. Don't teach me the tangent of a 45-degree angle. Teach me what a Roth IRA is or what a closing disclosure of a house looks like, right? And so there are a lot of athletes who are making money now, and I'm co-founder and CEO of a company called athletes.org as well too, which is the Players Association for college athletes. We're trying to get them the true revenue they deserve from their schools, as opposed to them having to do an NIL deal, which is really a marketing deal. It's really a Pat Mahomes State Farm deal, not his check from the Chiefs. And fortunately, tides have turned, revenue sharing is happening. And now we're just making sure the athletes actually have a seat at the table to voice their opinions and how they get that money. Hey, some of it should be into a retirement account. Some of it should be in my pocket today. Some of this, what about our mental wellness resources? What about our health insurance after our careers and things of that nature? But there are a lot of athletes right now who are getting paid a tremendous amount of money, really life-changing money for them. And unfortunately, there's nobody who is, I don't want to say mandating. Mandating is a tough word, but impressing upon them the importance of how strong financial plan can change the rest of your life. The money that some of these athletes are making today in college is the difference between them going through the rest of their lives with pressure versus them going through the rest of their lives feeling somewhat in control of their finances. And, fortunately platforms like this exist, but, we're doing our work as well too, to try to make sure that athletes don't have to keep making the same mistakes that their predecessors have made with their money. You can use the money that you're making as a trampoline for the rest of your life, because unfortunately, a lot of college athletes, prior to them making money, regardless of whether you make money or not, when you're done playing your sport, there's a lot of us who fall off a cliff, and mentally, physically, and spiritually and emotionally. And hopefully, not that money solves it all, as we know, but hopefully it can help you in that transition period, as opposed to being a complete debilitating factor for your life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just think having the time to cope with the huge life change. We have a lot of military members, Cope, that listen to our podcast, and that transition, much like a transition out of the NFL, is just, it's a whole new world for our servicemen and women. Let's get our stackers a little bit ready. Obviously, we can't do it the way you did it in the book, but I do want to start where you start, which is all these athletes now this week coming out of training camp. And you talk about how we need training camp with our financial health. So walk me through what training camp means when it comes to building your financial plan.
Yeah, I think before you go into the season, for everybody's context, you go into training camp, and training camp is to basically pressure test you and get you prepared for the actual ups and downs and ebbs and flows of the season. Doing that with your finances is getting yourself in order. It's making sure that you're organized so that you can actually make the best financial decisions for you as you continue to build on that strong financial foundation that you set during training camp. Making sure that you're in touch with your why, making sure you understand what you are truly working for, so that you're not working for what your neighbor is working for. You're not working for the car that they have or that they want, or what you want on what social media wants for you, but you're working for the freedom of life and the freedom of choice that you choose to pinpoint. Making sure that you have a strong budget. There's a lot of us who are afraid of the term budget, but also there's a lot of us who are working extremely hard to create more revenue, create more income. But ultimately, I always say, you're trying to heat up your whole house in the winter. And imagine if you have multiple windows in your house that are just open while you're blasting the heat, and you're going to work against yourself. And so a lot of these things can be done more efficiently once you sit down, create time for you to really think through your goals, the quickest routes for you to get there, but then also for you to map out what your current financial situation is. Because a lot of times, every year it happens, when people just do a budget, a lot of times you end up making money just because you start to see from a 30,000 foot view, oh, I still got this subscription draining me every single month. Oh, I'm giving way too much money to this cousin, right? Like, there's different things that you start seeing that make you start to look a little differently at every single purchase that you make.
I absolutely love that advice, because I remember back when I was a financial planner, which was a long time ago, I have clients that would say, this is like going to the dentist. I feel horrible coming in to see you, and then when I leave, I feel great, which is every trip to the dentist I've ever had is like that. Oh God, I got to go. And then later on, I'm like, man, my mouth feels good. But when you get those numbers in front of you, to your point, you see the warts, and then your brain starts working on those things, which I think is super cool. The first quarter of your book, of course, it's in quarters, and you've got plays to run. We've got practice. We got the film that we watch, which are case studies. But I want to talk about chapter 1, because you say something, and chapter 1's all about hustle. And I think we've done a good job today about talking about begin with betting on yourself and hustle. But one thing I've never heard before, Cope, which is you have people take out a sheet of paper or their phone or whatever and write down 5 sources of income. Not one, not 3, but why do you want us to have 5 jobs?
Yeah, I think people have always said wealthy people have multiple streams of income, right? And I think by starting and mapping out those things and also applying them to what you're actually good at, right? What you're naturally passionate about, it gives you the ability to start to create some diversification for yourself. Now, will you go and apply hours and hours of your life to all 5 of these places equally? No. You should definitely have some focus, right? When I was an NFL player, the NFL was the main thing, right? However, by you even sitting down and spending this time mapping these things out, it gives you the ability to start to create freedom of mind, but also it starts to help you allocate your most important asset, which is your time, towards some of these different things that can help hopefully become revenue streams and bigger revenue streams for you throughout your lifetime. So I love having multiple streams of income. I think in this day and age, the side hustle mentality can sometimes be good and bad because it can detract your focus from that main source of income.
Yeah.
However, you never want to be, as the guy who was fired from the NFL multiple times, you never want to be too dependent on one person to feed you and your family.
You said when you were driving around Detroit with some of your teammates, you guys were looking at houses, and obviously Detroit has just done a phenomenal job of really economic development. And that city's just such a kick-ass place now. My son, by the way, has 14 rental houses in Detroit, lives in Seattle, but he just wants to rebuild his hometown that he grew up with. You guys were talking about the same thing about, look at all these houses. We could be a part of the solution here. Did you ever invest money in Detroit?
Yeah, that's where I got my start in real estate. Was, like you said, we were riding around looking at, where's going to be the next downtown of Detroit and how it's going to continue to grow and expand from there. Detroit was coming off the back of declaring bankruptcy and that entire ordeal, so to speak. But yeah, I started doing real estate investing in Detroit, doing single family property flips, a lot of properties at auction. Earlier, when I mentioned I tore my pec, literally that season, I always laugh thinking about it. That season, because I had so much time on my hands, because all I would do was rehab and be at home. I decided to start a little real estate business, and we would buy properties at auction. My wife, she works at Google. She'd go to work in New York. She'd come back home, and we'd be sitting over at dinner, and she'd be like, I'm like, hey, how was your day? She's, oh, it was good. This happened, and all good. And she was like, how was yours? I was like, oh, life was good. And day went by pretty fast. I bought a house today, and we just keep it moving. You just keep it going. And that happened 5 times during the year. We already had a couple, and we would buy these properties, auction, sight unseen. And by the 5th one, my wife was like, hey, don't buy another house. Let's make sure these things work first. But by me being able to start in Detroit, being able to be there, being able to see it, learn about the entire process. And again, I had tore my pec, so I was able to spend a lot of time in all of the details, managing the properties myself. It just sped up my learning curve so much, tremendously. And I'm fortunate to have mentors like the guys who were riding with me, Tahir Whitehead, Theo Riddick, but then also guys in the city, Calvin Johnson, aka Megatron, Rob Sims, Golden Tape of Rob Sims. He brought me around the city as well, too. They showed me some of the single family flips that I was investing in already. He started taking me to apartment buildings that he was working on that were 12 to 25 units. Then he started taking me to commercial space. And I was fortunate because he basically showed me, just through driving me around and just allowing me to learn and sit with him for a few days, that there are levels to this thing. And there's more than just the single family flips. And there's nothing wrong with any of that.
Sure.
But it showed me, okay, well, I'm learning, and I'm going to keep learning so that I can eventually grow to other spaces within the real estate industry.
Well, I think it's just like your book, right? Just focus on training camp. Then let's go into the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Let's build a solid foundation. There was a great analogy I heard you. I'm going to kind of misquote you, but the gist of what you said was, people go watch the games for fun. You played in the NFL because A, you loved it, and B, because you were being paid, right, to be there. But the people that own these teams creating all this goodness, this is a side hustle for them. like yes. None of these people, that was just a wow moment when I'm like, these people are writing all these freaking checks and creating all this goodness. And this is their quote side project.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible when you think about it, that, you know, when you're buying a team, you're getting that capital or you're getting your legs in the business from something else, right?
Yeah.
And although some of them bought it at lower valuations years ago, hey, these still, you own a team. And, you know, having some conversations with some owners, some of them are at the point now where they do it just to keep the family together. And, you know, we all come back and go to the game and things of that nature. I'm like, wow, this is not a vacation home. This is
a vacation stadium.
Yeah. You know,
invite 80,000 of my closest friends.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's pretty incredible to think about. And it's also for a player. I mean, any athlete out there, I think, you should be looking at the people and the things around you and taking as much as you can for yourself. And you didn't necessarily ask this question, but I'm gonna go ahead and sound like the OG or the old guy out here and give some advice. The reason why I lasted 10 years in the NFL was because I will learn from anyone, anywhere, at any time. I've been around a lot of athletes and a lot of people, man, I'm not learning from him. He's a rookie. Or, man, I'm not going, what can that coach teach me? They never played the game or anything like that, right? And for me, when I was at the Patriots, I have a whole set of notes on Bill Belichick and just how he manages an organization and how he leads and how he's created a culture. And whatever you want to say about Bill Belichick, again, one of the winningest coaches ever, right? And so the same thing can be said for the athletes in the locker room with these team owners as well, too, right? You are literally sitting next to somebody who has built a business and they're making more than all of us. And they don't have to have pec surgeries. They don't have to run through people every Sunday. And they found a way to evolve from having to physically work to earn and make money. And so this may be a selfish thing, but this is a message to athletes, but it's also a message to people, right? And when we talk about writing down those 5 different income streams and things like that, now you start to think about, okay, well, what are the income streams that really take me, Brandon Copeland, physically working and sweating and doing things versus what are the things that I can set up and basically push in the water like a boat and just let them flow and let them grow. And, you know, a lot of people say real estate is passive. It's not passive, right? Depending on the level you're at, maybe it gets to seem passive, but it's not passive, right? And so you starting to figure out what the life that you want is, but then also taking mentorship and guidance and cues from as many people as possible. And as you continue to get older and progress along those chapters or those quarters, you can continue to refine where you spend your time, what you say yes to, what you say no to. And I just have to have that optimism that life will work out for you if you do that.
Well, I think just remembering that there's levels and what a level these owners are playing on, you know, the 5th level, but you can't play in the Super Bowl if you don't start in training camp. Like if you don't have that foundation. The book, which comes out tomorrow, is called Your Money Playbook, and Cope. It's available everywhere, right?
Everywhere. You can go to brandoncopeland.com/playbook and go and purchase your copy if you want to. You can get it on Amazon, audiobook, all of that good stuff. But ultimately, again, brandoncopeland.com/playbook. And I just appreciate you taking the time to read it, but then also for spending your time highlighting it today.
Well, man, thank you so much for helping our stackers score lots of touchdowns this fall and winter with their money, because this has been great use of time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. And how about Cope bringing it to kick off the football season? And by the way, rest of the world, I'm talking about the real football, not that thing you kick around for 90 minutes and never score a goal. Wait, that actually sounds like OG's dating life back in the day. The National Football League. It's a huge money operation. The average ticket price is now $151 according to SeatGeek, and concessions like hot dogs and popcorn come with an application to refinance your house so you can afford to eat. But here's today's trivia question. Which NFL franchise is worth the most money? I'll be back right after I go give Joe's mom and Cooper a season-opening pep talk. We got to cheer on those Detroit Lions, right?
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
Hey there, Stackers. I'm diehard Fairweather Lions fan and the guy about to win a Super Bowl, Joe's mom's neighbor Doug. The NFL kickoff was this weekend, and the season's first Monday Night Football game starts in just a few hours. So we're celebrating with some football meets money trivia. Today's question, what NFL franchise is worth the most money? Worth approximately $10.2 billion. It's the team that calls itself America's team, though they can't seem to win big games without help from the referees. What, Dallas fans? Too soon from a Detroit fan? He reported. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Goddamn Cowboys!
And now, here to help you score with your money, back to Joe and OG.
Dallas Cowboy football. I wonder if they've signed the wide receiver yet.
So last year we had some family in town. So the wife and I had some free points in the Marriott app. So we decided to go to the hotel, stay the night, do a little massage, dinner, whatever. And we get to the hotel. It's like completely empty. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like we're gonna have a run of the place. Just go upstairs, have a cocktail, come downstairs to have another drink before dinner, and it's packed. The lobby is packed with people. There's 500 people, and I start looking around, and a lot of them have these NFL shields on. You know, the logo, the NFL logo, right? Like on their lapels or whatever. And I'm going, what's going on here? And then I go, I think I know. I recognize, oh, this is the Packers team hotel.
Oh, wow.
The night before the Cowboys-Packers playoff game.
Wow.
Ooh.
So really cool, right? All these players and their families, it's a playoff environment for them too, right? They're excited. It's playoff football.
Well, they came in and took care of business too.
Yeah, they did.
Well, hold on. So we go have dinner, we come back out, and, just kind of mind our own business, get in the elevator, and two Packers players get on. Don't know who they are, recognize them, but you go, oh, I've seen that guy on TV, but I couldn't tell what his name is. And I said, you guys ready for the long, cold bus ride home tomorrow afternoon? He goes, oh, you must be a Cowboys fan. And I said, yeah, just I'll tell him to take it easy on you or something like that, right? Just kind of I've had a couple drinks, so I feel a little sporty, and something in my mind was pretty witty to come out. And he was very nice. I said, honestly, I hope you guys have a good game. And, I know who I hope wins, but hope everybody's safe and whatever. And I told my kids that, and my kids go, Dad, you get them all riled up. They're gonna. And I'm like, it's not me. It's not because of me that they want to be riled up.
I'm sure it was locker room bulletin board. Yeah. Hey guys, there was a dude in the elevator.
Some elevator rando.
He was 5'9", 205, soaking wet, and he was talking smack.
We gotta win.
So anyway, of course, they beat the brakes off of Dallas, and my kids blame me. So anyway.
Yeah.
Not Dallas's finest hour. Definitely. By the way, big thanks to Cope for coming in. And you know what, OG? If Cope can struggle as long as he struggled to finally play in the actual NFL, instead of being on practice squads and off and on, and getting cut over and over, if he can struggle that much, I think the lesson is you can open a Roth IRA. You can save into your 401k. You can apply for the life insurance. You can do it.
Just a small step.
I think it's powerful stuff.
Pretty much same.
Grit and determination.
Hey, you can also save money into a bank, but listen to this one. This headline comes to us from MoneyWise, and it is written by Sarah Lewis. It's just a nightmare, these customers said. More and more, this is the weirdest, more and more USAA members who lost thousands of dollars are sharing their stories of fraud, say they've now lost trust in the bank. Wow. USAA is one of, I think, you talk about OG, America's team being the Dallas Cowboys. Generally, people say USAA, and it's in hushed tones, like, oh, USAA. Good stuff. Here's what happened. Curtis Murrah said he's been a loyal customer of USAA for 28 years, till his wife rang him up one day saying she couldn't make their mortgage payment because there wasn't any money in their account. Murrah, based in Georgia, says he took a closer look at his accounts and discovered someone was making deposits in and out of his account. It was like they were playing mind games, he told News 4 San Antonio. They would deposit $9,800, then turn right around and withdraw $9,800. They deposited $4,000, turned right around and withdrew it. Murrah contacted USA and convinced the institution to conduct an investigation, but USA allegedly told him there was no evidence of fraud, despite a $14,174 loss across two of his accounts, including his emergency fund. Then the bank unexpectedly closed his account. No, gee, you know why they closed his account? Because they suspected
because of fraud.
That he was doing fraud. So they closed his account on him, and then he's out. He says the transactions were taking place in totally different states. They could see everything. They knew it wasn't me, but for some reason they said that it wasn't fraud. I don't know the whole case against USAA, and I certainly don't want to just shine the spotlight here on USAA, but I think while this is definitely OG USAA's problem, also looking at your bank account from time to time to just look at transactions. I know you and I do this with the Stacking Benjamins bank account. You're like, hey, what about this transaction, this one, this one, this one? We go over that every month. We go over that. I think just looking at the transactions, luckily Murray was able to, shine a light on it, at least with USAA. But had they not looked, it could have been even worse.
There's so many different ways that fraud can happen at your bank and credit card. This is one of the major pros of locking down your bank account, and the pro against the Dave Ramsey use cash only debit card. Because if I use my American Express card and somebody steals it, if there's an incorrect transaction, I've been a customer for a long time, it very quickly gets resolved. And even if this were to happen in the American Express world, where they're like, or credit card world, not just Amex, but where they're like, no, dude, this is you. Or this isn't fraud. This is you doing this. And I'm all right. Meanwhile, I can pay my bills, right? Like I'm in an argument with Amex over this debt or over this credit card issue. The rest of my world still functions. When you have access to your bank that's out there, it can go in any direction, and it's usually bad. And think about all the places that you have signed up that have access to it. Utility companies. I mean, how many stories do we hear about like such and such of, utility company was hacked, and you go, well, are they hacking the electric grid? Or are they hacking to get my bank account? You know what I mean? Like everything is available if it's on the internet. So the opportunity you have is to limit it as much as possible. So there's as few places as possible where you have that connection between your information and the outside world. A lot of times, here's another great example. A lot of times people have a brokerage account, an IRA, and a Roth, right? They got their bank account and they go, I'm going to set up a link to my brokerage account, a link to my IRA, and a link to my Roth. You don't have to do that. You can just do one to your brokerage account and then transfer from your brokerage account. Once you're in that ecosystem of Schwab, for example, just move the money within the Schwab ecosystem, have one connection to your bank, not three. That just makes it that much more opportunity for somebody to get one piece of the pie, one piece of the puzzle, to kind of have access to things that they don't want to. It's so frustrating.
But OG, it feels a little bit like what you're saying. Maybe I'm just not hearing you thoroughly enough or reading between the lines, but we've also talked for 10 years about automating your finances as much as possible. And obviously the easy one to think about is savings. But others that we've talked about are automating your bill payment. To do that, a lot of them will not take credit card anymore. I've tried. I used to be able to put most of my utilities on credit cards. Most of them aren't allowing it anymore. So I have to give them routing information so they can pull it right out of my bank account. So now we're exposing again. It's not just.
I think that might be unique to you. I would be curious what other people say about this. That's not an issue here. It's not an issue with any of the utility bills that I pay for any of the many homes that I own.
What's not an issue?
Credit card usage.
I'm not taking the credit card.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
You're able to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I mean,
can't.
so yeah, there might be, some communities. I do know that sometimes it costs you money to do that. So, there's some downside there, but I don't know. It's an insurance premium of protection. I would rather have this argument with Chase on my Visa bill than Chase on my checking account. You can't go get money from your credit card to pay your mortgage. It's a lot harder and it certainly costs a lot more. So I think that's a thing you can do, is kind of review who has access to things. And some things, you're right, Doug, it just is what it is, right? Like there's going to be access to it. The second thing you can do is make sure that you have your credit reports frozen. I'm surprised how many people just don't freeze their credit. It's so easy. Like literally you can Google.
Have your credit report frozen. Have your credit frozen, you mean?
Your credit report, yeah. What did I say?
Not your credit report, just your credit. Have your credit frozen. Your credit report's the thing you get that reports on your credit. Just your actual credit, have it frozen.
Oh, I guess. I don't know. I say credit report, but
tomato.
You say tomato, I say tomato. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, you just go on Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, type in Experian credit frozen, I guess this is what Joe would type in. I might type credit report frozen. I think it'll take you to the same place. And yeah, you put your information in there and you toggle it off so that you just have another layer of pretty easy protection against some unwanted access. For this story in particular, here's the nuclear option. And it's really not that nuclear. If you are having a problem with a financial institution, you have to send a report to the Consumer Finance Protection Board or Bureau, CFPB. I don't know what the B stands for, but it's board or bureau. It's one of those two. Try both. That is such a bomb that gets dropped at that company's lap that they hate it. They will do everything in their power to make that go away. So if this person is having this issue with USAA, not getting anywhere, going on CFPB.gov probably and saying, I have a complaint, here's what happened. That goes to a person, that person sends it to their counterpart who is in charge of compliance at that financial institution. That is a big strike against them, and they will do everything to make that go away. So put that in your back pocket. If you're having trouble with financial institutions getting what you need to get done.
According to the Better Business Bureau, there have been 4,122 total complaints against USAA in the last 3 years. Last April, a federal grand jury in Louisiana indicted 21 people involved with stealing nearly $7 million from USAA customers, particularly the accounts, of course, because there's an inner circle of hell for this, older individuals with high bank balances. Three of the defendants, OG, worked for a call center that provided customer service for USAA and helped the rest of the group to access customer banking details to create counterfeit checks, reported the Dayton Daily News. Last year, USAA had a data breach that may have impacted around 19,000 members after employees at another USAA contractor shared their access credentials with unauthorized individuals. And of course, in 2022, they paid a stunning $140 million in civil fines to two federal regulators, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network and the Comptroller of the Currency, for falling behind in reporting suspicious transactions. There's been a lot going on at USAA, and it ain't good lately, OG.
Well, and this is true. I mean, you could run the same report for Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they would probably lead the pack, but any of these institutions. I mean, there was just a big thing. The SEC fined a bunch of firms $500 million for not keeping record of their text messages with clients. It's like, if there's a will, there's a way to find institutions. But some of this is warranted, right? If you're not following the rules that are in place to protect your consumer, you ought to get slapped around a little bit crazy.
Absolutely. Yes. You should have Stacking Benjamins talking about you in their headline segment. That's what should happen. That's the big thing. A couple things, OG, talking to people in banking, the reason they want that direct deposit, and banks will give you all kinds of incentives to open an account if you direct deposit stuff there, is direct deposits are sticky. It's difficult. It's a pain point to move your direct deposit. So whenever you see, hey, X bank is going to give me a big incentive if I open an account, it will almost always have, as long as you deposit your paycheck there, as long as you deposit, direct deposit something there. They really want that direct deposit for that reason. But I also think that this weekly money meeting that Cheryl and I have really helps this as well. We truck, obviously Monarch is a sponsor of our show. They help Cheryl and I with our tracking, but you frankly don't even need an app. You just need to sit down with your bank app. And if you do it once a week, it takes 10 minutes to just scroll through and go, oh, why are there's these money going in and out of our bank app all the time? Cheryl has gotten to the point where at our bank, we are allowed alerts. We get alerts whenever there's any activity in our bank. And so she just gets a text message whenever anything hits the checking account. By the way, I tried that, OG, and it was just too many freaking texts.
I was gonna say that wouldn't work in the OG.
Oh,
it was ding 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 ding.
It's like the Bellagio.
It's exactly what it sounds like, only the wrong way. What does it sound like at the Bellagio when you don't win money out of the slot machine? It'd just be like this over and over again.
We'll continue this conversation tomorrow in the 201, our amazing newsletter that by the way, last month, welcome to all the new 201 subscribers. And we hope, we can see tons of people opening it. It looks like people love it. And we thank you for getting it. But we grew the newsletter by 10% last month. Big month. So welcome to all the new stackers out there. Glad that you're with us. But if you don't get the 201 yet, stackingbenjamins.com/201, which comes to your email, and we'll continue the conversation about all of this. Time for us to shine the light on one stacker that said, you know what? I better call Saul, C-High, and OG. This is the part of the show where we help you get your questions answered about your money. So if you've got one, send it to me. You head to stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail. And you then can sound as cool as Dan does. Dan from Charleston, who's asking today's question. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Joe and OG and neighbor Doug. This is Dan from Charleston, longtime listener, second time caller, I think. And I have a procedural question. Assuming one was going to follow OG's general retirement advice, and that is to be in 100% securities, equities, all the way up to and through retirement, and then to mitigate the rocky ride, the sequence of return risk with a big old pile of cash, how do you recommend clients go about piling up that cash? Have you found it to be better for them to, in the 8 or 10 years before they reach the age in which they plan to retire, to divert their retirement savings into cash? For us, at $30,000 a year, we need to do that for about 8 or 10 years to get to about $300,000, which is where we would need to be in cash. Or do you recommend they go past 59 and a half, and then at some point between 59 and a half and the age at which they plan to retire, they begin to pull that money out of investments and putting it into cash? And if so, is it better to do that from your Roth or from your tax-deferred accounts? And I know the answer is going to be, well, it depends on your situation. But surely you have some rules of thumb that you guys go by to help clients make that decision. And I would love to hear those. Thank you guys so much.
I love this question, Dan. I love the order of operations question. Thank you so much for that. So, OG, you strongly advocate having no bonds in a portfolio, and to Dan's point, then instead keep cash on hand. So when the market fluctuates, like it may have a couple of weeks ago, fluctuates is a nice word, we don't have to worry about it. that we can stay invested. So how do we get to that cash position? And he used a number of $300,000 sitting in cash. About how much cash are we looking at?
Just to be clear about a couple of things, it's not about the market fluctuating, because obviously last week or over the last month, really since the 1st of July, the stock market's generally gone down over that period of time, still up for the year, which is great. We don't remember the good times. We only remember the bad when the market's going down. It's more around preventing your withdrawal from assets that have declined a lot. So say, for example, that you're the person who retired January 1st of 2008. You have $1 million, you're going to withdraw $40,000 a year. That's your distribution plan. You're going to do the 4% thing. By the time you got to September, and certainly beyond, as you got into March of 2009, your portfolio was down 40, 50% at that point. So somewhere along the line, you had to make a decision of, when am I going to stop taking money from this portfolio? And what we recommend is picking a dollar amount, or most people don't spend percentages, so it's tough to live in percentage world, but looking at your balance and saying, all right, I have $1 million in my brokerage account. I'm taking 40 grand a year. If this thing goes down below 800K, I'm going to not take any money from my brokerage account until it recovers. And statistically, giving yourself the opportunity for that to, for the market to have a recession and recover and all that sort of stuff, you need about 2 years. If you want to be conservative, you need about 3. So in that example, somewhere between $80,000 and $120,000 you'd have in cash to support your $40,000 a year withdrawal. So it's not just, hey, the market's down this week, I'm going to take it out of cash instead of my account. It's, once I've breached this point, then I'm going to completely stop from withdrawals from the equity portion of the portfolio until I've run through all the cash, because it's gone down and now we have to give it enough time for it to do whatever it's going to do, the recession to happen, the recovery to start happening, and for the market to recover. So it's a long process. And so the question that he had at the beginning was, when do I start building that excess cash and how do I get to it? So in that example of, hey, I've got $1 million, I want to have $40,000 a year. That's my spending. And I want to have $80,000 worth of distributions in cash. How do I get that $80,000? I would have that $80,000 on the day that you're retired. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do it. One way he said was, well, should I divert some savings over the course of the preceding few years to kind of increase to 80,000? Should I just sell something when I get to retirement? Boom, that day I rebalance and all of a sudden I have 80,000 in cash. My preference would be for that option, because you're having your money be invested as long as possible. Now, there could be opportunities more tactically as you are getting close to retirement. Maybe you're rebalancing, you're 2 years away, and a portion of your portfolio has gone up a whole bunch. You own NVIDIA stock or something, and you go, I'm going to take a little off the table. Maybe that's a good time to tactically say, I'm going to take a little bit, and that'll start building that cash. So it's not as much of a rebalance issue. But my preference would be, when your situation changes, that's when you're going to change your portfolio. Not like, I think it's going to change in 10 years from now, therefore, and that's what we're trying to prevent, right? We're trying to prevent you from being too conservative too early in your portfolio. And so if you go, well, I'm going to take 10 years to build up this cash. Well, that's 10 years that cash wasn't being invested. And over the course of that 10-year period, that's another doubling of that cash, give or take, right? So my preference would be to wait as late as possible. Obviously, there's some situations where maybe tactically it would make sense to get a little ahead of that. But generally speaking, I would wait. The next part of the question he asked was, and so where do I put that cash? Do I put that in my IRA? Do I put it in my brokerage? Do I put it in my Roth? That is going to very much depend, unfortunately, based on, where all the rest of your money is. If you have a whole bunch of money in a Roth and a little bit of money in a brokerage account and not very much money that's pre-tax, well, then obviously your distributions are largely going to come from your Roth throughout retirement. I would look at where the distributions are coming from. Where's the allocation of your portfolio in terms of asset location? And as you plan on your distributions over that period of time, over the next, 3 years, where are the asset locations for the distributions going to come from? And that's largely where I would have the excess cash reserve. He said something about 300,000. I don't know what that was tied to, unless he was trying to give an example of how much. 300,000 in cash, to me, you would need to be spending 150K a year to have 300,000 cash. And if you're spending 150 a year, 300 in cash, you probably have a $3 or $4 million investment portfolio, give or take, maybe a little bit more. While 300,000 seems like a lot in cash, like, holy cow, what am I going to do with all that cash? Against the backdrop of a $4 million portfolio, it's like 9%, a little under 10. So It's really not that much as part of your overall portfolio.
You're not as cash heavy as it might sound to some people listening.
I mean, it's a lot of money,
Sure.
undoubtedly, in absolute amounts. And, the whole purpose of this isn't to optimize a bunch of stuff. It's to say, how do I stay invested as long as possible and then give myself the opportunity to wait it out? Because the last thing that you want to do is be drawing money from a portfolio as the market's in a recession and you're down 30%. COVID's a great example. It was down 30% in 17 days. If you executed this, if you're the person who has $1 million, 80,000 in cash, March 1st, you would have taken your money out like normal. By April 1st, let's say that your threshold was a minus 25%. The portfolio was down. If it's all S&P, portfolio was down roughly 30% by April 1st, right? So you're going to switch over to cash. And from April 1st of 2020 through March 31st of 2022, that 2-year period, all you do is spend all your cash, regardless of what happens in the market. Just spend all your cash. So, you had $1 million, it went down to 700,000. And then by the end of that 2-year period later, you're out of cash, right? You're like, okay, now what? Your S&P fund had gone from basically 700,000 back to $1.3 million just by giving it time to sort out what was happening during, in this case, it was COVID, but that's true in all the recessionary periods. About 30 months is the time. So you just want to give yourself enough time to ride out the wave. And that's what the cash does.
Dan, thanks for the question. And if you've got a question for us, much like Dan's, stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail is the way to get there. But if you are not worried about just cash in your portfolio, really, you need to make sure that your portfolio dovetails with your goals. And I know for a lot of people, that doesn't happen. We did a story, OG, remember the story just last week about too many people roll over the IRA and leave it in cash? I had so many people write to me after we put out the 201 the next day, telling me they just hit reply on the 201 newsletter and told me, yep, this is me. I feel like I'm seen. My IRA is still sitting in cash. Not sure what to do.
Yep.
A lot of people.
I mean, Vanguard said it was a third of people, right?
Yeah. Gotten caught in that trap. If you need to make sure your plan dovetails, OG and his team are taking clients. So head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG. That's the link to OG's team's calendar. It's the first step to see how you can find yourself skipping through the rest of 2024 like it's a field of dandelions and sunflowers and beautiful flowers with some wonderful music playing in the background. The rest of your life is just giggling, and
exactly what it's like.
Does that sound a little over the top?
No,
I don't know. stackingbenjamins.com/OG. Time for us, Doug, to mosey out onto the back porch. The first thing, Doug, though, before I hand over the reins, is that we promised people that a contest we were running before our greatest hits week break, that we would discuss a contest. But we've had so many new stackers, as evidenced by the huge number of people now getting the 201, the big influx of people there, and just looking at the numbers for the show, that we're going to keep this open, OG, for another week. So you want to re-explain the contest here as we open another 8 weeks?
Yeah, let's do it for another week. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about this on a Wednesday show, I believe. This is the unofficial start to the election season. Did you know that? Labor Day is the unofficial start. Apparently.
I'll have to tell my campaign crew that.
Yeah. Well, you're a week behind, bro, just so you know. But I've been getting some questions, and I saw this in a news article. I just thought it was so great about, well, what happens if this person wins? How should I do my investing? What if this person wins? What if this person doesn't win? How's that going to change? And so I found this and I thought it was super interesting. So back to 1961, so we're going to go back in time, 60 years, you have $10,000 on January 1st and you invest it. But you only invest during Republicans. So red team in office, you're invested. If
we're talking about president only, not who's in charge of Congress.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Just president. And so you're only investing in Republicans, or you have your $10,000 January 1st and you only invest during Democrats. So the question is how much would you have end of 2023 if you had followed that strategy? So you're like, I'm diehard red. I only invest in red. I'm diehard blue. I only invest in blue. Two different numbers, right? And then there's the third person who says, I don't care who's president because I'm going to make money no matter what happens. And you put your $10,000 in on January 1st and you let it ride for 62 years. So no prizes for being closest to. I just want to go with your gut. I just want you to put 3 answers in. How much were the Republicans? How much were Democrats? How much have I left it in altogether? And just because we've been getting some good conversation around this, I figure let's go another week. We'll give everybody the real answers next week. We do have some prizes we're giving away for people who enter. It's not for being closest to or anything. So there's no sense in getting out your HP 10B2C calculator and trying to. It's a calculator, Doug. You wouldn't know. They don't use it in campaign school. Figuring out what this could be.
What did you say? Just remind me again. You invest $1,000 in 1961 and only win your party $100. What was it?
10K. 10K. Jan 1 through December 31, 2023.
There it is.
Only red, only blue. Let it ride. Those are your 3.
And we're guessing how much is it worth? Not percentage increase. It's what's that 10K?
How much is it worth? How much you got?
Gotcha.
How much you got, bro?
Okay.
How many Benjis have you stacked?
And we're looking for your gut feeling, which is why we're not going to encourage people to look it up. We don't want you to think about it. We want you to just go in and go, oh, I think if it's Democrats, if it's Republicans, if I just let it ride, these are the cumulative returns that I would have had. This is how much money I would have had now. And we are going to give away some cool prizes. We have a brand new guide. I know it's becoming open enrollment time for many of our stackers out there. And because the average person changes jobs every 4.2 years, this is the first of 5 guides that we're going to offer. Another one, hopefully coming near the end of this year that I'll talk about then. But the benefits guide helps you choose the best benefits for you. We not only teach you about benefits, we talk about how people get it wrong. We give you tons of resources to our benefits. And the cool thing is you pay for the benefits guide once, whether the government changes things, your business changes things, or you change jobs, which is going to happen several times. You have lifetime access. stackingbenjamins.com/Benjamins gets you to the page, but we're going to give away 3 of them for free to people that take part in OG's contest. Plus, I think it'll be fun when we talk about it next week. Doug, though, on the back porch, I'm sure there is one show that you probably need to talk about. Tell me.
Pride and Prejudice, Tale of Two Cities. What are we?
Pride and Prejudice, the below deck edition.
Are you talking about the really highbrow? I thought we were just talking about Pulp Fiction stuff by Bronte and Dickens. But if you want to hear about the really sort of mentally challenging show that I watch called Below Deck Mediterranean.
I never knew you watched that show.
I'm on season 5. Man, it was an up and down season. The biggest crew turnover I've seen. Longtime chief stewardess. Spoiler alert. This was like 6 years ago, so I'm not worried about spoiling anything if you haven't watched it yet.
No!
The chief steward, they say stewardess. I like that. She had been on, I think, every season so far. She got canned for a shocking reason. So that was pretty. And then, they had a chef who misrepresented herself. And she got fired because she was not all that in a bag of chips. Another chef quit. I mean, there were ups, there were downs. We laughed, we cried. It was quite an adventure. Season 5 just wrapped it up tonight. Probably we'll watch the reunion episode.
Oh my God, the reunion episode.
Oh, they're fantastic. Actually, even more controversial. One of the guys, Party Pete, who was one of the deckhands, he was in like the first 4 episodes, a complete nozzle, just a not a great dude on the first 4 or 5 seasons. Said some awful stuff to some of the female crew members. And then all of a sudden he disappears. He's still on the boat. He gets no screen time for like the next 15 episodes because it was a 20 episode season. I look it up last night. Turns out he's posting even awfuler stuff online while the season was airing, so that the producers quickly go in and edit him out of the show for the rest of the
Doug,
season.
like 6 years later, is spilling the tea.
Oh, yeah.
You'll never believe this.
You had your chance, people.
If you just go back 6 years into Stinky Pete's,
like a silly amount of time researching via 6 year ago Instagram posts of what happened to Crazy Pete. But
what else am I going to do while I'm watching? Look, nobody watches TV anymore without their phone in their hand. So I'm multitasking. I'm like, what happened to Pete? Well, let me go find out. While the show is playing before my eyes, I'm doing deep research.
Doug doesn't have time to check out his USAA account, make sure people aren't swindling him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it. I think we got top 3 things that should be on people's to-do list today, Doug. Take us through them, man.
Well, Joe, here's what's stacked up on our to-do list for today. First, take some advice from Brandon Copeland, or Cope, as we like to call him. The basics of finance aren't difficult, and that's where people make big mistakes. Focus on setting up a strong foundation, and you'll be ready to score a touchdown with your money. Second, want to avoid fraud with your bank account? Track your spending. Hold a family budget meeting weekly. 20 minutes a week could save you lots of Benjamins and lots of headaches. But the big lesson? Don't cry too hard, Dallas Cowboy fans. At least you've still got a world-class cheerleading squad. Thanks to Brandon Copeland for joining us. You'll find his new book, Your Money Playbook, Earn More, Build Wealth, and Win at Life wherever books are sold. You know what? Because I'm your favorite teammate, I got you covered. I'll also make sure my people include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2024, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. Joe gets help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.